Well, hi folks, here we are, Sunday, August the 23rd. Still waiting to see who the Conservative Party leader will be in Canada. We should know that in the next couple of hours, I guess. Trust everyone is well. Bit overcast, cloudy on the island today. And what's new? Last night I watched a video on Yeonmi Park, young gal from North Korea, who had escaped from North Korea with her mother and sister. And I found it quite intriguing. And I actually posted it on my strangersandpoetry.wordpress.com and sent it out to my email contacts late last night. Because this is sort of was an interesting take. And she talks about how she got into the Mongolian desert. Well, she didn't walk across that. They were in North Korea, got into across to the Mongolia, and then from Mongolia she was picked up by some missionaries who sort of got her into South Korea, and then from South Korea to New York, and then to Chicago, where she is now. So that's her timeline of where she went, because it sounds like when you watch the video that she walked across the desert, but she never. So I double checked that just to make sure, because how do you go from Mongolia to South Korea? You know, you couldn't walk there, because it's impossible. So anyway, the thing I found interesting about that, totally interesting, is that she goes into the brainwashing and goes into socialism and communism. And it's really, really worth a watch. And I know a lot of people, some people who are watching this are sort of leaning towards socialism and communism. They think that's a better way than the system that we have, the free enterprise system we have, the marketing system we have. And I think a lot of people figure, well, if we have a socialist system, we can just sit on our ass. We don't have to, there's no real competition. We don't have to strive. Everybody gets the same and we're all good. Everything's free. And you know, it's in Canada, that's sort of the way it already is. But everything hasn't been free, because we've given up a lot of rights to have that. Freedom of speech is a main one. We can be fined or we can thrown in jail for using the wrong word. It can be construed as a hate crime, all sorts of craziness. We have really neutered our language. And of course, we're not much different from the way she explains the propaganda in North Korea, because most people watch CBC, CTV, CNN, BBC, MSNBC, NBC, ABC. They're watching the mainstream media, and that's where they're getting their news from. In North Korea, there was just one television station, and they all watched that. In Canada, in North America, in the Western world, we have several stations, but they're all saying the same thing. And most people don't realize it. They believe what they see on television. It's intriguing. But communism and socialism isn't all kumbaya, fireside, picnic side stuff. And just watch this video and see where we're heading. You know, this is part of that Agenda 21, to just get everybody disrupted, control everybody. And cousin Bill Gates is up to here in it, with his vaccines and his monitoring. And nobody talks about that on your mainstream media. And if that's what you're watching, well, you're not getting that. I'll also put a link in again to Dr. Coleman out of the UK. He very, very eloquently explains what's going on as well. So you can get some verification of that. And you can verify it yourself if you just roll up your sleeves and do some research. And of course, you have to be careful, because there's a lot of garbage online. It's interesting. I wrote a poem the other day about "What About You?" And I notice I've got some reaction to that. And the gist of that is, for me, when the whole world hates somebody and there's no real reason except what the mainstream media says, and people haven't really thought about it themselves, they're just sort of regurgitating what the talking heads are saying, I sort of kind of think, well, maybe the whole world hates them and they don't have a real reason. And I'm looking at what he's doing. Well, maybe I don't like everything that this person does, but I sort of would say I sort of like him in comparison to everything else. And people were surprised at that. They figure that is just a sin to sort of say that. Well, let me say this. When I look at Portland, Seattle, when I look at Portland, when I look at LA, when I look at San Francisco, when you look at Chicago, when you look at Minneapolis, when you look at New York, you look at Atlanta, and there's several other cities you can look at that are all run by Democratic governors and mayors, and they've driven their cities into the toilet. They're all shitholes, and those people would prefer that than the other side. It's intriguing. If you're wondering what the poem says, you can go to strangersandpoetry.wordpress.com. I'll put a link on there as well. You can see some of the stuff we've done. Yeonmi Park, I have her video on there as well. And again, I challenge people to take the time to watch her video. Take the time to watch her video. It's not comfortable at times. And it's surprising at times. And the thing that I found really surprising, when you're really totally brainwashed and you're totally not comfortable with freedom, not comfortable having to do something for yourself, her statement that in the first few months of being in North America, in the U.S., she was really, really scared. Didn't know what she was going to do, and she was ready to go back home. If she could be assured of having a supply of frozen potatoes, she'd go home, because that's what they were eating towards the end. So again, I challenge people to listen to that and throw their views on it. You've got to question everything. You've got to question everything. But I found her explanation of North Korea is pretty similar to what other people who have come from communist countries have said. And it's intriguing because there's polls that up to 57% of the people polled are leaning towards that sort of a system, a socialist communist system. And I'm thinking, wow, wow, wow. And that's how brainwashed we are becoming. Now, we're all brainwashed into giving up our freedom of speech. And we think it's cool because we use buzzwords and we're part of the jet set, and hey, we know what we're talking about. But anyway, that's about all for today. Just watching that video I think will really knock some rust out of the locks. And do you really want to go that way? And of course, when she talks about her upbringing in her time in Korea, how people are brainwashed. Same thing has happened here. Our last two generations have been schooled that way. They are totally, not all of them, some are thinking for themselves, but a lot of young people have been schooled to think that way. Been totally friggin' brainwashed. And, but anyway, there's still hope, although it's slim, because most people don't want to stand up and say anything. People are so damn scared. And I see more people now wearing masks, and this is another thing that's driving me totally bananas. It's against everything all the experts said, but it's companies that are in big corporations that are now mandating this, and just for all those people who think that socialism is great because we're all sharing everything, it's bullshit. The top people will still have it all. You'll just have less. You'll have less rights, and you'll totally be a slave. I'm going to be, I don't know. And in Canada, to a certain point, we're getting to be that way. We're getting to be that way. So take care. Bye for now, and we'll see you tomorrow.